Pirates video. It was fun. Hey, brother! Okay, so somehow it is 2025 and we have never done a video about Pirates of the Caribbean, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's Disney and it is quite beloved by us growing up. Dun 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 dun. And I'd have to be like, no, I don't know him.
Did I go on for too long?
Nope. Literally, look, my first Facebook profile picture ever, which I promise was cool back in 2006, but it was literally me and my now wife Beth at Pirates Dead Man's Chest, and she's even in Pirates garb. So I checked, and the dimensions on that picture were 200 by 157, so oh, the pixelated glory. Anyway, today we are revealing the dark history of the Black Pearl.
You've seen a ship with black sails that's crewed by the damned and captained by a man so evil that hell itself spat him back out.
Yes, that one. Because back then and now, the Black Pearl is just like the coolest ship ever. A haunted all-black pirate ship, a skeleton crew that is somehow the fastest ship on the sea, despite all of its sails being ripped to shreds, which, like, not for nothing, only adds to its coolness factor. But when you first watch the movie and dive into the world of pirates, you don't really question anything about it. I mean, you're already dealing with curses and magic and stuff, so yeah, sure, the ship is super fast because magic or something, probably. Whatever, shut up, it's cool, just watch the movie, give me the popcorn! And then you come to find out that the entire crew is cursed, so certainly the ship is cursed too, right? And it looks all beat up and ragged, just like the crew does when the moon comes out. Like, heck, the movie is literally called The Curse of the Black Pearl. And yet, weirdly, the two things are not connected. Instead, what you have is two very different situations converging into one crazy powerful and dangerous crew of pirates.
That's interesting.
So, is the ship even cursed at all? Where did it come from? And why is Jack so obsessed with it in particular? Today, we find out.
It's not just a keel and a hole and a deck and sails. That's what a ship needs. But what a ship is, what the Black Pearl really is freedom.
Freedom. That's why people like pirates, or at least the idea of the pirate life. Because even as a kid, I remember being perplexed by this. Like, why do people romanticize pirates so much? Like, aren't they stealing and killing and plundering? Aren't those bad things? Like, why are we celebrating this? Why do we want to be like that?
That's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen.
It's because, of course, that's not at all what people mean when they idealize the ways of the pirate life. Pirates are glorified because they represent maybe the purest form of freedom. The right to live by your own rules or code, or maybe guidelines you might call them. Untethered by laws or government or societal expectations, carving your own way through the world, nary asking permission. Who among us is so bold? And that's why today's video is brought to you by Van Life. Get out there, man. You could probably do it. You probably. It's about rejecting control from others, choosing your own destiny, embracing the spirit of defiance that lives in all of us, and rewriting the rules. Like, do pirates plunder? Yes. But is it chaos for the sake of chaos? No. It is the refusal to be silenced or controlled or owned. And that is where the real story of the Black Pearl begins, with a young, honest Jack Sparrow who has just become employed by the East India Trading Company and given his own ship, the Wicked Wench, by Cutler Beckett, the East India Trading Company Director for West Africa. Although, it was not the first ship Jack was offered. The first ship was called the Marlin. Yeah, the Marlin, a slave ship that Jack refused to captain, so instead he agreed to captain the Wicked Wench and do traditional merchant runs. And Jack, as you may expect, was very good at his job, and he and the Wench were basically an unbeatable team, and so once more he caught the attention of Beckett, who had his own agenda outside of just trading. aka treasure. Specifically trying to locate the legendary hidden island of Kerma and the city of Zerzura, apparently home to the lost treasure of the descendants of the pharaohs in Egypt. Big green gemstone. Ooh.
This is just a rock.
And if you're wondering, by the way, where this information is coming from, great question, because in true pirate fashion, in the writing of this very video, I found myself on a treasure hunt. Because, as you may know, or maybe not, there is a great deleted scene from the third movie, At World's End, that outlines some of Jack's backstory. But as I dove deeper and deeper into this video, one particular book kept coming up as the source of all the information, and it was called Pirates of the Caribbean: The Price of Freedom by A.C. Crispin. Great, I thought. I've got some Audible credits. Let me go ahead and download it and start an adventure on the high seas as I drive to and from work. Y'all, we need to take a brief pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, BetterHelp. You know, in a video about pirates, it seems only fitting that at times it can feel necessary to find buried treasure just in order to properly look after your own mental health. Because if you find buried treasure, I have a feeling you're in a pretty good mood. But also, money. Therapy is expensive, and I'm sure deep beneath the surface, it's what pirates were truly hoping to do with their newfound riches. Therapy.
I think it all started with me mum. My dad was a pirate. My brother was a pirate. My uncle was a pirate. My cousin, he was a tailor. Maybe I could have done that.
But I know I felt that way forever. I could have been a tailor. No, that it was expensive. But maybe it was the inaccurate stigma of going to therapy, or just the thought that seeking this help would be financially out of reach. And there isn't no truth there. I mean, traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from like $100 to $250 per session, which adds up fast. But with BetterHelp Online Therapy, you can save on average up to 50% per session. And I'm personally a regular in therapy. And for me, it's not usually something massive. It might just be a small disagreement that needs working through, or finding new boundaries that I'm more comfortable with, or heck, even just freeing up time to sail the high seas strictly for the enjoyment of it. Not because anyone's making me to, Dad. It doesn't always have to be about treasure.
That's code for work doesn't have to be your whole identity.
Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/super to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/super. Link is in the description down below, mateys.
Yarr!
But alas, I was to discover that this canon Pirates book, commissioned by Disney, has no audiobook? What? That's odd. You know what? No biggie though. I thought I'll just go old-fashioned and read with my eyes on actual paper. I mean, I know it was published back in 2011, but this must be a popular enough book to keep a few copies in stock at the bookstore, right? I mean, the backstory of Jack Sparrow?
What did he use for rope? Human hair from my back.
Get it? Backstory. But see here, I don't know if you lived through when the Pirates movies were coming out, but he was kind of a big deal. And on top of that, this is what A.C. Crispin does. Like, she wrote the backstory for Han Solo, like the other most famous smuggler ever. And this was apparently the last book she ever wrote before her death. And yet, nothing. But again, no big deal, right? I mean, the internet's a big place. I'll just mosey on over to Google and $1,982. That had to be a joke, right? Like, what are those eBay listings that says some exorbitant number that nobody would ever pay? But like, hey, maybe, what do I have to lose just by listing it? Maybe someone will do it. At this point, I was like, all right, whatever, screw you, Amazon. I'm gonna go to the online used book market and $766. Oh no, I see. I checked the button for new. So can I just change it? What about just like good and just what? 634? And that's as low as I could find it. Apparently, for some reason, this book was extremely limited release and is now just like crazy hard to find and very valuable. So if you have it, you know what? Like, hold on to it or sell it or send it to me or whatever. You know, you do you. Although I have to say, I do love that in true Pirates lore, there is a treasure to be sought, and that treasure is the backstory of Jack. And also, if you want to be like way less fun about it, it is available on ebook for like $13. But like, is that even worth it? You know, now that you know. Anyway, minor treasure hunt aside, let's get back on track with Jack and Beckett's hunt for the mythical island of Karma, which Beckett tells him he'll cut him in on a percentage of the findings if he finds it.
It's heavy.
And guess what? Jack does find it with the help of one of Beckett's own house slaves, Aisha, who is also a member of the Karma royal family. Wouldn't you know it? What are the odds? I actually don't know. I don't know if they knew that ahead of time or if that's just like plot convenience, because like I said, I don't have the book, but that is the case. And as they journey, Jack wins her over and she reveals how to find the island. So there you go. But upon returning from the island, Jack decides he can in fact not give up the location of the island because he knows that Beckett will not only steal the treasure, but then go about enslaving the people of the island. Which then, as you can imagine, makes Beckett not very happy. And so now he demands that Jack deliver a cargo of slaves across the sea for him, no longer like really giving him an option in the matter. And so Jack agrees initially, but once he sets sail aboard the Wicked Wench, he quickly backstabs Beckett and instead takes the passengers to Kerma, where he then unloads the would-be slaves as now free men, and the local royals there agree to give them asylum. Freedom. It is what Jack values above all else. Or, well, I don't know, maybe except like rum. Where's the rum gone?
Where's the rum gone?
But, boy howdy, if you thought Beckett was miffed before this, well, he is truly kerfluffed at this point, and now sends 5 ships out to capture Jack, and successfully does so, and brands him with a P on his wrist, forever marking him as a pirate.
But you have heard of me.
No good deed goes unpunished, eh?
Right!
But then, to add insult to injury, and literally just for that reason, Beckett then arranges for Jack to be present for the burning of the Wicked Wench, Jack's beloved ship. Jack's beloved ship that actually belongs to Beckett, so really, he's burning his own entire ship just to watch Jack suffer. Dude. This guy is not following any guidelines.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
But distraught, Jack breaks free of his bonds and dives in after the ship, managing to get all the way into the cabin as it sinks, and he goes down with the ship. But then also rises with the ship after making a deal. And a lot of that information would then all go on to be confirmed in the aforementioned deleted scene from At World's End. Beckett says,
"The last I saw of that ship, she was on fire, a blackened hulk sinking beneath the waves."
He also confirms that he branded Jack for not transporting cargo, which Jack then famously responds,
People aren't cargo, mate.
But so then how does Jack survive being on a sinking ship? Well, we actually know that too. He makes a deal with Davy Jones. If Davy Jones will raise the ship and spare his death, he will be allowed to captain the ship for 13 more years before surrendering his soul and serving 100 years aboard the Flying Dutchman. And so the agreement is reached, and upon resurfacing, the now burnt and blackened Wicked Wench is rechristened by Jack as the Black Pearl, inspired by, of all things, the biblical parable of the Pearl of Great Price, which reads, "Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it." Which, for context, that's Jesus talking, if you couldn't tell. And what he's saying is that heaven is worth everything you have in this life. So for Jack, that's his ship, his freedom, which he indeed trades everything for, right down to his soul, for the pearl of great value, the Black Pearl. But of course, as we know, the deal doesn't work out too well for Jack in the short run, who does successfully captain the ship for 2 years and recruits a crew out of Tortuga and announces they'll be hunting for the lost treasure of Cortez. Let's go! But that's when Barbossa leads a mutiny against him and strands him on the island with the single shot. And interestingly, why Barbossa leads the mutiny and why the rest of the crew is like on board with it remains a mystery to this day, although I guess the fact that Jack had a tendency to try and solve things non-violently is alluded to as having been a contributing factor. Either way, the point is Jack is off the crew, and the rest of the crew goes on to find the cursed treasure of Cortez, leading to their own curse of becoming skeletons in the moonlight and not being able to die or feel or taste or anything.
You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one.
You best start believing in ghost stories. So, in summary, the pearl is black because Beckett burnt it. The crew is cursed because of the treasure, and Jack is branded as a pirate because he sought freedom for himself and others. Although, that said, there is one issue I suppose to resolve, which is the fog that seems to surround the pearl while the Cortez curse is still active. Because it's hard to say if this is like the ship itself being cursed, or just a side effect of every crew member who spends most of their time on the ship being cursed. Like, is the fog coming from them or the ship? Like, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, either way, it lifts after the curse lifts, so I think it is definitely connected. I think it's more to do with the crew. But so then why is it so fast? Well, we've actually already touched on it. And the reason is because the Wicked Wench was a merchant ship. Because like in trade and shipping, speed is important, so they use the fast ships. And while they may carry a cannon or something, they're not really built for battle. But typically, if you're a pirate, you want firepower, like, you know, big ships, like this one. Like, this is what I imagine as a pirate ship, right? But so then what Jack does is convert his merchant ship into a heavily armed pirate ship, which is now way faster than any warship that may be chasing him, but also way more well-armed than anyone who could actually keep up. In fact, this is the very trick he uses when escaping from Port Royal with Will. They pretend to steal the big ship, but then switch to the small fast ship and outrun them. I have to say, they get so lucky here that literally every single person on the other ship switches with them. Like, if even one other person had stayed behind, right? Of course, you might be doing some math here and figuring like, wait a minute, wouldn't that mean that Jack's cannon-laden merchant ship would be slower than regular merchant ships? And yet, that doesn't really matter because Jack's targets are rarely just other ships. He's usually hunting down a specific treasure, like the treasure of Cortez, or the Dead Man's Chest, or the Fountain of Youth, or the Trident of Poseidon, or whatever it is. Because again, Jack's not out there just like causing chaos for the sake of chaos. He usually has a mission, and his main goal is just freedom. But there you go, guys. The secret, true, dark history of the Black Pearl and how Jack Sparrow came to own and captain it. My question for you guys is, are there any other pirate theories we should cover? Let me know in the towel section down below. Guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to leave a like on it if you haven't already, and subscribe so you don't miss any future Disney action from us. If you want to see how to get a perfect score on Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin, a different, ride at Disney World, you can check out this video right here. But otherwise, until next time, Ben, I will see you in another life.